This is Boxing Tickets NI in association with that prize guy. I'm delighted to say I'm joined for the very first time with Joe Mooney. How are you, Joe?
I'm good, but I'm good. How are you?
I am fantastic. My inbox was going crazy yesterday. I was just saying to you, it felt like a competition. People seeing you recommend it once, and the next thing then it was going into overdrive. So this is sort of by people obviously on our Instagram page, obviously demanding that we get you on, Joe. So I guess the people wanted you on, so we had to deliver.
Yeah, well, I'm happy to be on. Thanks for having me.
It's my pleasure. Pretty much it's nearly tomorrow, 24th of May would have obviously been whenever you first announced last year that obviously you were going pro. Um,
Yeah,
like obviously I'll delve a bit into sort of for that, but like what's the last year been like for you? Obviously since making that decision, like it was something you probably never thought was going to happen.
yeah. Do you know what? I never had plans of even going pro. To be honest, it kind of just fell on me lap. Um, I hadn't even boxed as a as an amateur before it for about I'd say for about 3 years. So it was kind of out of the blue, but it was just one of them things. I was always sparring. I was always in different gyms sparring or whatever. So I took to it handy enough. And yeah, the last year it's been a busy year. Unfortunately, not too busy with fights, but to be honest, I haven't really been out of the gym, so I'm just tipping away, enjoying it.
So, like, well, sort of like a this is your life sort of thing as I do interviews, particularly the first time around. It's not going to be like this every time. So don't worry. You don't do your want to know with me and go, not doing anymore. You keep me too long. But
Yeah.
like, why did you first of all get into boxing and what age were you when you started boxing?
I my dad, most of my family boxed, so even before I went to a boxing gym, my dad was showing me a few things here and there as well. But I think I would have walked into my first boxing gym when I would have been eight, say about eight, yeah. So I've uh, I've been around a minute.
So, like, pretty much in years to come, and obviously you make it in the sport, like your family's going to have pictures of you hitting pads from a very early age. We always see these things when people make it big, and there's pictures come from the woodwork somewhere. So there's going to be images of you very early on with a set of boxing gloves on, hitting the pads.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's a few out there already. So yeah, it's funny. It's funny to see when they pop up.
So,
It's
oh, sorry, I was going to say, so like for you early on, then the sort of the pressure was always it's a tradition, it's in the family, you have to be a boxer. Did you feel that sort of pressure early on that you had to
no,
get
it
into boxing to
wasn't.
go?
It wasn't you had to be, but it was definitely something like you were doing anyway. You were gonna train whether you fought or not. So it was just that's just the way it was. There's not many people in my family that I know that haven't boxed in one way or another. So yeah, it was just one of them things.
Has anybody in the family made it to a certain level sort of in the sport? Obviously sometimes people just box on the streets and things like that. It's like, is there anybody that's boxed at a really good level in the family?
It's nothing too heavy. Like there was no pros in the family. Two of my cousins were good boxers. All Ireland stuff like that. Same with me dad. So I have two little cousins now who box as well. So there's a few of us, yeah.
So you're setting a new benchmark now. Obviously, you're the first Mooney of the family to become a pro. So everything that
Yeah.
you do now, there's going to be somebody coming behind, like your cousins, maybe your kids and stuff in the future that have to go past where you've went.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'd like to keep up, kind of keep up tradition. So I mean, hopefully the two cousins, come after me, and we see what happens. Yeah.
And like, how did you find, like, obviously from the age of 8, you're 26 now, am I right?
26 now. Yeah, 26.
How did obviously you find the early days of boxing? Like, a lot of people sometimes like either they don't have boxing in the family. It's a good thing to have, keeping fit, mental well being, but also it stops people from bullying you. Like, how did you find sort of growing up, in the early years of boxer? Like the people on the street know Joe Mooney's a boxer. we'll give him a bye ball and not try and bully him in any way? Like, did you find boxing helped you and keep you out of bother in a lot of ways?
I mean, it did, and it didn't. But like, unfortunately, I was one of them ones where I was kind of in, out, in, out, in, out. Uh, you know, a good part of my life. So, but yeah, like I mean, it's definitely better to have hands so you don't get bullied. But I never had them problems, to be honest. So
And like when you think of your early days, like who did you sort of look up to as idols? Sort of who did you want to be? At 8 years of age, who were you sort of going, I'm going to be this person when I grow up? Who was your boxing idols back then?
I used to love watching Roy Jones. I used to love watching Roy Jones, and then obviously, when I was coming up, it was the hunky dory boxing days. So like Byrne, Dunne. So yeah, them type of figures. But I always used to love watching boxing. Roy Jones was always one of my favourites. So I'd always be watching Roy Jones.
So you sort of had like your international ones, and then as I say, probably more to make it real for yourself. You probably looked at like it's a Bernard Dunne going, well, this is someone Irish, it's local, that if he can achieve it, sort of I can achieve it. So you sort of had two different spectrums of a role model.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. One from the hometown, and then obviously Roy Jones from America. But yeah, it was even like Steve Collins. I used to like watching Steve Collins as well. So that was one of my dad's favorite boxers. So
It's
um,
crazy. Funny. I was watching the documentary there. Obviously, the Eubank Collins one, and Steve Collins was the first one to sort of break the mold of mentally beating a fighter before a fight. Like I think they were even saying in the documentary on the day of the fight, Chris Eubank was going to pull out because he just didn't know he couldn't get inside Steve Collins' head. And nowadays you're seeing a lot more of it happening, like your Tyson Furies. They try to beat a fighter before they fight, but it's scary to think looking back in the 90s and going, Steve Collins broke the mold of breaking a fighter before the fight.
yeah, he had that mindset coach with him in the corner even for the fight as well, didn't he? So yeah, he was a special man, Steve Collins.
They were trying to say like there was mentally something wrong with him because as if it was so much in a state of mind that it was unhealthy. They were trying to say it was damage and stuff to the sport, like buying an old Jag, coming out with an Irish Wolfhound. Like he really played the part.
Yeah, yeah, he was a legend. He was, Steve. Yeah. And I
Yeah.
mean, he beat a lot of good lads. I mean, he beat two legends of the sport twice as well at that. So yeah, like what a man.
Obviously, looking at your amateur career, obviously, unfortunately, in BoxRec, it doesn't show an amateur career in BoxRec for some reason. Like, how many
Yeah,
fights have you had as an amateur?
as a youth, I had a lot as a youth. Not all of them carded, but as a youth, you'd be boxing every second week. So I had a lot as a youth. A few competitions here and there, but as a senior, I didn't have too many. I'd say I only had 10, 12 as a senior. Um, so I wasn't as active as a senior as I should have been. But as I said, I was just kind of in and out, or I was doing something else then, and it is what it is. But I'm lucky because I was one of them. I was always sparring. So I think that's it kind of gave me that little boost when I was going pro. I was like, look, it's not like I've just been out of it since. I've always been tipping around the gym, sparring and whoever. So yeah,
It's like, I guess they sort of say like amateur boxing nowadays is your apprenticeship to obviously what you do as a pro. It's like doesn't matter sometimes what you've done until you become a pro. Like you could be the very best amateur in the world, but then you could be a terrible pro. You might not have a big amateur career, but you could be a brilliant pro. Like amateur boxing nearly sort of counts for nothing nowadays, but it's good to have them foundations in place, obviously moving into the pros.
yeah. Like it's obviously it's better than having nothing. But they're basically two completely different sports, aren't they? Like as in, I mean, the styles are very different, obviously, in the pros compared to the amateurs. But yeah, no doubt, the amateurs are definitely would be our apprenticeship. Yeah.
And was that the reasoning why behind you maybe didn't have an inkling of going pro? Like were you sort of maybe skeptical of going, people might not see you have a big amateur career, might, as if the shop window's sort of not open for you. So as you say, it sort of came by chance. We got over and spar in England, and then all of a sudden it happens that somebody sees there's actually a talent there.
Yeah, like it's like it's as they say, it's not what you know, it's who you know. So it's I never had. Obviously, when I was younger, I wanted to be a professional boxer, this and that. But as I got older, I was doing different things, and I just never had it on the cards to go pro. And then obviously, when I was sparring in England, and I met Rendall, and just kind of rolled from there. I was thinking I wasn't doing much at the time, so I said, why not? Do you know what I mean? Why not? At least you're not looking back then saying, what if, what if?
I guess when a former world title challenger in Rendall Munroe sees something in you, like I know you had the spar, and then a couple of weeks later you were moving to Leicester, like you were easily influenced. Like when someone that's a former world title challenger goes, you've actually a bit of a talent here to go pro. Like the penny drops for you, and you go, why not? What's the worst that can happen?
Yeah, 100%. And to be honest, like I had that belief in myself anyway. I know my ability, I know what I can do. Um, but it was just obviously having Rendell there to let you know, look, there's definitely potential there. It makes it that bit sweeter, doesn't it?
It
Um,
definitely does. I remember watching obviously your pro debut, and I know when you sort of maybe commented, I think back to me at the time, you weren't sort of happy with your performance. I think maybe fitness in the last round sort of let you down. But like for someone with the lack of sort of, well, I wouldn't even say the lack. Obviously, he boxed as a youth and obviously boxed in and out sort of, but for obviously not boxing the very high level sort of, so to speak, as an amateur, they obviously have the debut you had and the opponent you even had as well, and Jan Order. And I thought you boxed very well. There was a lot of boxes ticked in your debut.
yeah, I mean, like I'm one of them. I'll never be happy. I always see the mistakes rather than what I done well. But considering I hadn't, as I said, I hadn't even before I turned pro, I hadn't boxed as a senior for 2.5, 3 years or whatever it was. So that was me first one back, and it wasn't a bad lad to have me debut against. You know what I mean? But it was just the little things like same day weigh in, not eating too close before. Just the little things. Obviously, no excuse for getting a little bit tired in the last round, but it was just, I suppose, a lot of ring rust. And I think then when my second fight came around, I think it was a lot better. I had it dialed in a little bit more. So
I guess if your pro debut had went so easy, like obviously you went through the 4 rounds too easily without any sort of, there'd been something sort of wrong in some ways. You're going, how am I fit to do 4 rounds as a professional sort of standard? You were probably going, no, this is too easy. Like it probably been you wouldn't have been you've been in too much of a comfort zone rather than out of a comfort zone. So it gives you things to learn on.
yeah, 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 no, for sure. It was, as I said, like I'm one of them. I'll always look at the mistakes rather than what I done well. So it was just getting it in, getting it done, and just moving on to the next one.
And like I guess it wasn't long afterwards from that. Obviously, your second pro fight in October against Jake Bray. Um, like obviously, another great performance. Like you sort of maybe disappointed at this stage where you're pretty obviously. I know you've your third pro fight now in 4 weeks tomorrow. You sort of maybe just disappointed, maybe you just haven't had a bit more activity. Like you ideally wanted a bit more activity at this stage.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. Now I'd like him to be me fifth ideally, instead of me third. But at the end of the day, like it is what it is. You just kind of take the bad with the good, or the good with the bad, and hopefully this year I can be very active towards the end of the year as well. I'm looking to get a few in by next year. So
I guess like professional boxing isn't easy, Joe. Obviously, I don't think you need me to tell you that 'cause obviously you know as well as anybody, but particularly with you being away from home as well, being in Leicester and originally being a Dublin lad, like it's hard sometimes they sell in a sport, particularly when you're having to rely on friends and family coming from Dublin to Leicester. It's a lot more expensive. Like you obviously have to I guess you have to understand that in some ways like the cost involved sometimes. Like if you were to have 5 fights by this stage, people back home probably wouldn't have as much money in their pockets.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. That's the ticket part of the game. It can be frustrating, but to be fair, I have a good group behind me. So I haven't had any problems yet with tickets or getting people over. So I'm just hoping they can keep that up. And yeah, just as I said, I'd love to get in as many as possible. But as you just said, like you have to kind of plan it further. You have to put a bit more plan into it because, as I said, you have to deal with the tickets, get people over, and stuff like that. Yeah, so it's not easy, but
You have to keep it going. Like obviously the that support that comes, they're obviously a part of the journey, where you go to in the sport, but there'll be the reason why it keeps fueling and driving you on a daily basis to go, these people are coming to support me, I can't let them down. But the army will keep growing. Like people will see Joe Mini supporters in the crowd and then they'll go, well, we want to be part of that. We might be here to watch someone else, but we'll get a ticket the next time because we want to sing the songs. We want to be part of the Joe Mini fan club.
yeah, well, it's like from the debut to the second fight, you notice a little rise in tickets to people that maybe you didn't know before, or you just kind of knew and they seen it, and then they come along. So I'm just hoping I can just keep the momentum with that, and hopefully just get more fans as you go along, more people who are interested, and yeah, just keep doing what I'm doing, and hopefully that happens.
I'm guessing you're probably your ultimate dream is to get a fight night back in Dublin. Obviously, the Dublin fight seems thriving at the moment. Like
Right,
you're
and
probably just hoping that Carl can go, Joe, would you like a fight back in Dublin? And you'll probably snatch his arm off.
yeah, well, I mean, I do a lot more tickets in Dublin than I would do here, so I'd happily entertain a fight night back home on any card. As you said, like it's the boxing scene back home is pretty healthy at the minute, so and there seems to be cards every so often as well, which is good. So I mean, I jump on in a heartbeat, honestly.
Well, obviously, I'm good friends with obviously JB Promotions, and obviously it does all the cards. So I'm sure he'll be watching these interviews as well. So he'll maybe drop you a message once he's watched this and go, Joe, when do you want to fight back at home?
Yeah, I mean, I'm down whenever. Just give me a text.
But obviously, training under Rendall Munroe, how have you found it so far? Like you're obviously past that stage now where you're pinching yourself and you're being trained by a former European champion. Like I think does he still call himself the bun man?
Well, I mean, I suppose that name will never live, but yeah, it's just Rendell to me. Rendell's great. He's been a great help. Obviously, I'm learning a lot over here as well. And anyone that's down in the gym that's seen me when I first came over to now, like there's big differences in me boxing to what I was. So I'm just happy to be there in the gym every day, learning off Rendell. You know what I mean? Like as I said before, like he's been there, he's done it. So the man knows what he's talking about.
How have you found that sort of transition across from, in some ways you probably maybe Rendell's maybe said you're maybe lucky you maybe didn't have more fights because there's maybe less for him to fix, obviously in a pro style. Like we see people that struggle with pros that were really good amateurs with have a certain style. Like has Rendell found it easier to transition you across to pros because you have, less sort of fights, so to speak?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not too sure to be honest, but he's one of them. Like if he sees you doing something wrong, he'll take you on it straight away and try fix it and, instead of letting it go on. So it's it just it seems easy to be trained by Rendell. You know what I mean? Because it's not just going down just hard work, hard work, hard work. Obviously, it's hard work as well, but there's a lot of learning to it. Um, so as I said, like I'm just enjoying the journey with him now at this stage. Um, as I said, like I've come on leaps and bounds, even in the past few, even from the last fight to now. I think I'll show another level now come June 21st. So yeah, I'm just happy to be in the gym, tipping away and learning.
And like, do you sort of look at your June 21st show? Do you sort of look at that as maybe potentially your last four rounder, maybe moving up these six, or
Yeah. That's the plan. Yeah, one more four rounder, and then the six rounder. Start getting the heavier rounds in. Then so yeah, this will be the last four rounder.
and like, what do you sort of do? What do you sort of set like your short, medium, and long term goals in the sport? Like, have you sort of set down a plan? Like, obviously, I know you probably will want a bit more activity by this stage, but like, have you sort of set like a short, medium, and long term goals in the sport?
You know what? I haven't really set too much. I haven't really set too much plans. I haven't really planned too much. I'm just trying to take it fight by fight at the minute. And take whatever I can get. And as I said, just stay in the gym, just keep learning, and hopefully everything falls into place by itself. Because as you know, in this sport, it's hard to plan because you never really know what's gonna happen or what fight you're gonna get or stuff like that. So it's just, to be honest, I haven't really set too much. I haven't set my mind to anything really other than just getting the fights in. Yeah.
Where could you see your ceiling in the sport? Like, are you sort of one of these, like, 99% of people you speak to, they'll say, I want to be a world champion. You obviously then get the 1% of times it goes, like, to give you a good example, Paddy McCrory had obviously is fought in Orlando and things like that last year. He sort of said, like, my goal when it came to boxing was like a Celtic or an Irish title, and he's surpassed that. Like, are you one of these that set your goals small and then reevaluate? Where do you see you can go to in the sport?
To be honest, I want to go all the way. Like that's just. I think that's the mindset I have. And to be honest, I think in this sport, you kind of, it's good to have that mindset because it's not. It's obviously it's not an easy career, so you might as well get as much out of it as you can. And yeah, for me, like I'm trying to reach the top of the sport. You know what I mean?
And like, for people to sort of, maybe people watching this and then go, well, you didn't really have a big amateur career, but obviously if you can't achieve the top in your sport, like, there's nothing to suggest. We've seen people come the white collar route that obviously haven't, Fabio Wardley, I think, was one. Like, I think he had like 10 white collar fights, never boxed as an amateur. And look at the stage he's at. He's headlining big cards. Like, there's nothing to suggest because of what you've done as an amateur that you can't achieve as a pro. Like, so somebody would go, but you didn't do a lot as an amateur, but you can do a lot as a pro. Like, that's how different the two sports are.
Yeah, like also, I was saying earlier, they're literally it's two different styles. Like you can't be an amateur style in boxing. It's a lot harder, isn't it? So it's to be honest, I don't think too much on that. Like at the end of the day, it comes down to like what you can do on the night. Like you can have all these international tournaments or whatever, but at the end of the day, it comes down to how you perform on the night. So I don't really, that doesn't really bother me at all.
It's the heart, isn't it? Sometimes they say it's someone that has the heart, someone that has the drive, the ambition, the goals. Like, if someone was a really, really, if someone's expected to win, they're not guaranteed to win. It's like it's whoever has the heart, whoever has the drive, whoever has the ambition. And by the signs of things, Joe, you have all that in you. Like, you may not have the experience, but you have everything that it takes to get to the very top.
Yeah, like I mean, I believe so, but like obviously I'm gonna be biased, am I? So, but yeah, like that's I just feel like that's the type of mindset you have to have in this game because like you can't really play boxing, so you have to. It's not really one foot in, one foot out the way I was before, growing up, and like now I'm just both my feet are in. I'm in deep, so. To be honest, it's all I'm doing. It's all I'm thinking about. So yeah, like I'm just, as I said, I'm looking forward to the journey as a whole. Like I'm just kind of taking it bit by bit, but obviously the end goal is to get to the top of the sport.
What can people expect? Obviously, where you've been out of the ring, by the time it comes to fight night, you've been out of the ring nearly 8 months since your last fight. Like, what can people expect out of Joe Mooney on the 21st of June?
Yeah, hopefully a new me altogether. Hopefully unrecognizable even from the last fight. Yeah, hopefully put on a show as well for everyone that comes over because, as you said earlier, it's not easy for people to come over. So you sort of have to give them their money's worth. But yeah, just sharper, better in every way, really. is what I expect to happen. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Do you obviously, I know you don't have a stoppage as a pro so far. Do you put that stoppage, like where does that come in the mindset? Like, I guess the more fights that go that you don't have a stoppage, I guess winning's all that matters, but like you'd ideally love a stoppage at some point to show people there's power behind the wins.
Yeah, it's I said that in my last fight. I feel like I should have got it in the last one. If I'd probably put it on a little bit more, I reckon I would have got it. But um, you know what? I feel like they're gonna come. They're gonna come as they come. Like as they say, don't look for them. Let them find you. So I'm just, you know what? To be fair, though, I'm happy I got the 8 rounds in over them 2 fights as well. But yeah, like I'll be looking for stoppages anyway I can get them. So um, just have to let them come to me, I suppose.
Yeah, it's like when you go, I'll use the example if you're going to buy a car and you'd never seen the color before, and then you buy the car and every car you see is that color. Like if you keep going looking for a stoppage, it's never going to come. Whereas if
Yeah,
you're not looking for the stoppage, you'll throw out a jab at someone and the jab will hit them flush and they'll go down. You're
yeah,
going, get up, but
yeah.
you're just not looking for. You're just so relaxed and just focusing on doing the basics right.
Yeah, like I'm just focused more on the boxing, like the technical part, trying to be correct in everything I'm doing, try work on everything that we're working on in the gym, and I think I think in the next few I'll be able to show, I'll be able to get stoppages, because obviously as well they are what you want, you don't get paid overtime there, so yeah, I'll be looking for them, but I just want to be careful I don't look for them too much, you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. Leave yourself open. Obviously, I've got to the stage of obviously our police type interview where it's sort of like us all questions and you're going, what's going on? Um, obviously the most important part of your journey, obviously, is the sponsors that's involved. I'm going to apologize in advance if you miss any sponsors out, Joe. Obviously, it's all my fault because we don't plan these questions. You're sort of going,
Yeah,
what questions coming from minute to next. But,
yeah.
obviously, without that sponsorship, you wouldn't be in the position you are. So, is there any sponsors you'd like to give a shout out? Because obviously, these are the parts where they like to be part of the journey, where they're getting a shout out and getting a mention.
Yeah, 100%. I have a few with the uh, clipped barbers, plugged in barbers, crowd property maintenance, and the DPF centre, Kennelly's takeaway. Um, if you have me on the spot here, I'm forgetting.
I'm just
uh,
looking at your last fight gear. Obviously, some of them might
Imperative as well. Yeah, shout out to Imperative.
art cave.
Arcave as well. Yeah.
I know these more than you, Joe, because I'm looking at the picture, but it's because I put you in the spot. Uh,
Yeah, it's just on the spot you do be forgetting, but yeah, big shout out to all them. I think that I have them all down there. But yeah, and as well to everyone who flies out and buys tickets. I mean, that's spending the hard earned money to come out. It's not cheap as well. So yeah, just fair play to the sponsors and fair play to everyone that comes out.
well, look, we can finally say we got the first one over and done with it now.
Yeah,
Obviously, everyone we do from here on out, you'll not have to sweat as much because there'll not be as much in the backstory, it'll be more into the future. But great to finally get you on. Great to obviously chat to you in person because obviously been sharing your stuff and not knowing the story behind it. Whereas obviously now
yeah,
you know the story behind who Joe Mooney is and what you want to achieve in the sport. So everything from here on out, I'm going to know more about why you're doing it and what it's for.
yeah.
But look, thanks very much for your time. Obviously, enjoy your next couple of weeks of camp before fight three as a pro on the 21st of June. We'll hopefully we'll not keep it so long before we do the next one, Joe.
Yeah, 100%. And thanks very much for having me on and sharing everything. Fair play to you.
Not a problem, Joe. Like I'll speak to you soon.
Speak to you soon. Best of
Here,
luck.
take care. Thanks.
Mm.
Bye bye. Bye bye. Bye.